Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Wednesday night OWCP chats with Chris and Genie. I don't know
Yeah,
why I look at you when I say Genie.
I'm definitely not Genie. I am Chris, but we're happy to have you here. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the CA7 claim for compensation. We've had a lot of people asking about this, and so we're going to do that tonight.
Yeah, it's especially dedicated to Nicole out in Salt Lake City with APWU. When we were there, she asked, "Is there any way possible you guys could train about the CA7?" Then once I posted it on Monday, like it just went crazy. It had like 60 shares and people were tagging their friends and tagging their Facebook union pages. So thank you for that.
And by the way, that's three things we love very much: Nicole, Salt Lake City, and APWU.
Yeah. So what house? Let's see, because it's going to take a little bit before everybody gets on because we want this to uh, be heard, seen,
By a lot of people.
and we're going to educate as much as we can. What's going to happen is maybe about a little after 8:10, we're going to go ahead and screen share what a CA7 is. But before that, we'll have Chris talk about the CA7 and how important it is and all the things you need to attach. Then we'll screen share. You'll see us at the bottom and you'll see the CA7 form. And then Chris will go line by line. Things that are not necessary, that's not very important. He'll just kind of zoom right through it.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to bore you with it.
Like your
Look,
name, address.
the CA7 is my least favorite form of all the forms because there's really nothing for me or any of our doctors to do there. That's for you. But it's a super important form for you because it's your money. And so I'm going to talk to you about how to fill it out. We'll go through the instructions on it. I'll give you some sort of philosophical things on it and, ways to overcome some of the barriers that you deal with on a regular basis trying to get paid. And, I always say that, like, hey, do you know what money is? And then some of my partners get onto me because, hey, stop talking about money. But the truth is, you really care a lot about this because how do you pay your rent otherwise? How's your mortgage paid? Your kids have tuition. You got to buy food. Your electricity doesn't pay for itself. And so what I'm doing is just showing you how to get paid what's rightfully yours to get paid.
Right.
Now, with that said, our philosophy is the surest way to get paid is to clock in. So we want you to be able to go back to work as soon as medically possible so that you don't get hurt again. But also, we understand that when you're staying home and you have to use LWOP, you're jumping through hoops. And when you're on COP, you could jump through hoops later. And at all times while you're off work, your supervisors are giving you a hard time. So that's the reason we're so big on you getting back to work and alternatively understanding how to fill out your forms so you can get paid when you can't work medically. So we're going to go through all that tonight. We started a little bit early, but maybe we should give sort of a recap of what we've been doing and what we're going to do next. And it's been such a whirlwind for me. We had the flu. We came home from our vacation and we had the flu for what, like 2-3 weeks?
Almost 4. And as if you can hear, we still have a lingering cough, and I'm sounding more and more like a man each day.
But you go to Park City, Utah, where the average temperature was what, in the 20s, and you come back here and it's Florida and back in the 70s. So
Right.
we're bound to get something. But yeah. So hey, let's do it. Any announcements before I get started, or what are we going to be next?
Where we're going to be next? Our first stop will be Gatlinburg, Tennessee, where AFGE's DECA agency will be doing their tri-state national convention.
Where's that at?
In Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Tennessee, yeah.
Yeah, so we're excited because we've never been to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Another, place for us to
I hear it's great.
go. But we have, with AFGE, we have 3 different districts coming there to Gatlinburg for us. I think it's all their stewards because it was the stewards the last time, and then some local union presidents. So they've asked us now to train even a larger group from last time. So I would tell you guys, like with USPS or any other craft inside AFGE to come, but this is not an invite. This is a private tri-state convention. And if you are going to be there and some other craft asks if you can go, well, that's between you guys and everybody else, but we don't have the authority to invite.
But for me, the more the merrier, obviously.
I am sharing, and I hope you're sharing. Again, tonight, those of you that are hopping on, we are talking about the CA7. There's been a lot of requests because what's happening is you guys are filling out these CA7s as you should, and then they're getting kicked back and you don't know why they're kicking it back. So we're going to give you some little tips and tricks that we've told you guys through the years to do and forms to use and what goes along with them to make sure it gets accepted. From there, if it doesn't, you have to discuss it with your claims examiner.
Now, the number one trick is going to be to fill it out perfectly and have the proper documentation attached to it. So before I go through the form, let's talk about the form. So the CA7 is called a claim for compensation. For tonight's purposes, we're going to talk about leave without pay. So this is when you're out of work, but you want to get paid. So you've left without pay and you need some way to get paid. So it's LWOP, leave without pay. And the number one thing that has to happen before you can get paid on a CA7 is what? What's the number one thing that has to happen before someone can get paid on a CA7?
Your claim must be accepted.
Boom. She didn't even know I was going to ask that question. That's correct. First, you've got to have an accepted claim. So before you can do any of this stuff, you got to be looking at, how do I get my claim accepted? And, as always, this is not a way to promote federal injury centers. It's a way but I am going to say this. If you go to the wrong doctor, your claim's not going to get accepted. Almost always. 14% of people have accepted claims. You hear me say that all the time.
And he's even talking about doctors outside of federal injury centers. There's other doctors that do federal work comp too.
Sure.
So that's what he's meaning as well, not just federal injury centers.
But, you go to family doctor, ortho, neuro, ER, urgent care, the VA docs, just a chiropractor on the corner, your claim's going to get denied. The likelihood of it getting accepted is super low because most of those docs are not trained. So number one, choose your doctor wisely. But once you get that and your claim is accepted, then you have options for getting paid. If you had a CA1 injury that happened in a single shift and you report your injury within 30 days, you're eligible for what's called continuation of pay, or COP. COP is good for 45 calendar days of time off. So, you can use that first. And unfortunately, most of the time, your claim's not accepted after 45 days. And at that point, you're like, all right, how am I going to get paid if I'm not at work? Well, again, we want you to be at work. But if you can't be at work, you may have to use your sick and annual leave and buy that back later. But at the point that your claim is accepted, you should have the CA7 ready to turn in so that you can get paid for all of your time that you were off.
Right.
Now, when you're turning in a CA7, you need to attach certain documentation. If you just turn in a perfectly filled out CA7 with no documentation, they're going to deny your claim for compensation because you haven't proven you need to be paid. So take note of this. I'm going to tell you some things you need to attach to your CA7. And by the way, the CA7 is filled out on eComp now, so it's all electronic. So you have to upload the documents that we're about to discuss. Upload it to eComp when you're filling out and submitting your CA7. Number one, you need a form CA20, an attending physician's report filled out by your doctor, signed by your medical doctor. This sort of just gives sort of the status of your case, where you're at right now, and they want to see that. Next, you need a CA17 duty status report. This is because if you're off of work, it's because your doctor took you off of work. Nobody should ever take off of work without having a CA17 where the doctor took them off of work. If you just take off of work without a CA17 filled out, then chances are your supervisor is going to say you were AWOL. And AWOL ain't good. All right. So you don't want that. And then once your doctor fills out a CA17 and sends you back to work, do yourself a big favor and go. Too many people, way too many people, say, well, I don't think I can do it. And then they just stay home and they don't get a change on their CA17, making it okay to stay home. So if your doctor says go back to work, go back to work. Okay. Even with restrictions, without restrictions, you got to follow doctor's orders or communicate with your doctor so you and the doc are on the same page about the doctor's orders. So a CA20 and a CA17 need to be uploaded on eComp to attach to your CA7. From there, you need a doctor to write what we call a disability narrative. A disability narrative essentially explains medically why the doctor took you off of work and why you medically, physically cannot do the job 100%. So you need to take that narrative report and also attach it. And then finally, if you're off work because you're at the doctor, in therapy, at an MRI, wherever you're at, in surgery, what you need is a copy or a printout of the appointments, preferably signed by the doctor, the physical therapist, whoever was in charge of what was happening with you, right? So we want to have those signed, and then we attach those to prove that you were actually there, and that's the reason you weren't at work. So a CA20, CA17, disability narrative, and a printout of any appointments you were at and that's the reason you weren't at work, because you were at some medical appointment related to your injury.
So I just typed that and put it in the comments below if you missed what he said. And there's still a lot of you hopping on. We are going to screen share the CA7. This is going to be a video that it's going to be a must watch over and over and over again until you get it all right. So CA7.
And a lot of you are asking questions. Believe me, we're going to go through and answer all your questions. If we get to the end and you feel like we didn't answer it, just ask again. We'll definitely get to it. We're going to try to keep this to an hour, but if we need to go over, we will. All right. So that's what you attach to your CA7 claim for compensation. Again, I can't stress this enough. If you just turn in a perfectly filled out form with no documentation, you're not going to get paid. So attach and upload documentation. All right. That's super important. But from there, what we got to do, and you can go ahead and screen share.
Okay, so you're going to see us at the itty bitty bottom of the screen, and I'm going to screen share the CA7. I had said it at the beginning of the week, print it out. But if you have a notebook like Robert has one, go ahead and write down all the most important sections and numbers that Chris is telling you, because he'll say box 35 needs to say this. So please pay attention.
Yeah. Righty. And keep in mind also, this is the first time we've ever shared our screen. So hopefully we don't screw this up, because we frequently have technology problems. But we're going to see in just a minute. Yeah.
Hold on. I disappeared on my screen.
Give us just a second, folks.
Okay. All right. See it? Well, it was there. Okay. All right, guys. So if you're seeing this sheet, this is the CA7. And we are at the bottom of the screen. I'm seeing us. So you can still see Chris and I. So let's start.
Can you still see the comments?
I can.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. All right, good. So if you're not seeing this, let us know. This is our first time, but it looks like everything is going off smoothly. So this is a...
And one more thing. Hold your questions, all your questions, whether it's about the CA7 or some other issue. We will get back with you. Hold those questions until Chris says, okay, what questions do we have?
Now, just a note, if you're listening to the podcast, the Breaking OWCP podcast, and it'll be, obviously this will be pre-recorded and we'll publish it on the podcast. You can listen to that anywhere you like to listen to podcasts. You clearly won't be able to see the CA7, but you'll hear the stuff I'm saying, and you can always come back and listen and watch this particular episode on Wednesday night OWCP chats, wherever you like to see that: YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn,
Instagram, TikTok at Breaking OWCP.
So if you're listening to this on the podcast right now, you can always go to social media and see the forms as well. Just come to tonight's date and watch the video. You'll be able to fast forward to where you want to see it. So on the screen right now is a CA7, claim for compensation. At the bottom right corner of all these forms, it has the form number. Trust me when I tell you, you'll see it when I scroll up. This one says CA7 at the bottom right corner. The top portion of this is simple. I'm not going to bore you with it, but it's what you know about yourself. It's your name, your address, your email, date of injury. You know that stuff. On the right side, it says OWCP file number. That's your case number or claim number. Be sure you put that on there. It's a 9-digit number. Your social and your telephone number. All right, that stuff's easy. Section 2. As I said, we're going to talk about leave without pay. So when you're trying to get paid for time out of work, you're going to select letter A, leave without pay. Now, next to it, it says, what's your date range? Inclusive date range from this date to that date. I read a letter from a claims examiner once that said that they wanted you to turn these in every 2 weeks so you can get paid on a regular basis. So let's use every 2 weeks. But keep in mind, you could also do a date range that is months or years. But let's say it's every 2 weeks. and you were off from January 1st to January 14th. So that is what would go there. January 1st, 2025 to January 14th, 2025. And then beside it, it says, was this intermittent? Yes or no? So what does intermittent mean? So let's say that during that 2 weeks, you went to work one day or 4 hours or 1 hour. You went to work at some point. You weren't continuously off of work for the 2 weeks because it was broken up by some period of time that you went to work. So if you went to work at any period of time during the date range that you put on the inclusive date range from and to, then this is now intermittent. However, if from the 1st to the 14th, you never went to work at all, then it's continuous. Okay. It's not intermittent. And so you would say no. And it says if intermittent, complete form CA7A, the time analysis sheet. I'm not going over that at this time, but the time analysis sheet is a single form, one piece of paper, and all it does is have you break down how your hours worked on each day.
Right.
So this day I was off LWAP, this one LWAP, this one LWAP, this one I had 4 hours of LWAP and 4 hours on the shift. It's really simple, okay? But if it's you were off completely during that time, you don't have to fill out a 7A, a time analysis form. You don't need to do that. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory, pretty simple. But if it's not to you, you're going to ask a question, and I'm going to answer it even better. Note that letter D says schedule award. We're not talking about schedule awards tonight. However, over the last couple of weeks, OWCP went back and forth on how they want to handle schedule awards. They went from CA7 to CA9, back to CA7, and it had to be a 5th edition or a 6th edition. Now it's just 6th edition. It's just so crazy what they're doing.
Yeah.
But as of now, they're still using the CA7 for schedule awards. So when you have a schedule award, you attach your impairment rating to the CA7 and submit that. But again, this is not schedule award night. So
yeah, please don't ask any questions.
Don't blow me up about schedule awards because we don't have enough time for that. Okay, so leave without pay, date range, January 1st, January 14th. Was it intermittent? We're saying no. It wasn't intermittent. It was continuous. I was off work the whole time. But just understand that if you went back to work at any time during that date range, then you also have to fill out a form CA7A, time analysis form. Okay, section 3. It says you must report any and all earnings from employment outside your federal job, include any employment for which you received a salary, wages, income, sales commissions, or payment of any kind during the period claimed in section 2. So that January 1st through 14th, what they're saying is, did you get paid doing anything else during that time? Have you worked outside your federal job for the periods claimed in section 2? Refer to the instructions which provide further clarification. So you have to identify in section 3 if you worked and did anything else, made any money doing anything else, including if you sold stuff on eBay. They want to know what are your other sources of income. The reason for this is because whether you think it's fair or not, remember, I always say OWCP doesn't have fair sort of baked into it. It's not necessarily fair. So you got to follow this, all right? And you can't lie about it because at the bottom of this, you have to certify that you told the truth.
Correct.
They want to know that during the time that you were off work, that you weren't just off work, working somewhere else and collecting 2 checks. And that makes sense. Okay. It's easy to put yourself in the agency's shoes and go, okay, yeah, that's reasonable. So in section 3, you got to list every form of income that you had outside of your federal job during the time you're off of work.
Yep.
And if you need to use more pages, you can take another piece of paper and next to inside of section 3, you can say see attached. You can literally take just another piece of paper and fill out the information and write see attached. That's actually in the instructions at the end of this, the see attached thing. All right. So don't avoid section 3. If you're making money someplace else, number 1, good for you. Great. Be entrepreneurial, make that money, but you got to identify it right here.
Yeah.
All right. Don't hide it. They're going to find it anyways. All right. Section 4.
Right down here. If you can see, I'm using the arrow so you guys can follow along where he's at.
So section 4, is this the first CA7 claim for compensation you filed for this injury? Yes or no? If it's yes, then complete sections 5 through 7 and below. If it's no, just go straight to section 7. All right. And it says, if changes to dependent status, direct deposit information, or if a claim has been filed with the U.S. Civil Service retirement, another federal retirement disability, law or the Department of Veterans Affairs, complete section 5 through 7, or a new SF 1199A. If no, just complete section 7. So let's see what's in section 5. It says list your dependents. And this is important because the number of dependents you have determines your pay rate. Is it going to be, roughly 67% or 75%? So you got to list these, including your spouse. If additional space is necessary, provide the same information requested below on a separate page. And on this page, say see attached. Remember to write see attached and then attach the separate page as a uploaded document when you're filling out your CA7. So you list your dependents, their name, social, date of birth, relationship, son, daughter, spouse, right? And then it says, are they living with you? Yes or no. For dependents not living with you, complete items A and B below. But if they are living with you, you don't have to. So what's A and B? Are you making support payments for a dependent noted above on your attachment for anybody not living with you? If yes, support payments are made to, and you just have to list it below. So this is a really detailed form. It is mind-numbing, but literally if you just take it box by box, section by section, line by line, it's pretty simple. Don't get too hurried. Don't be rushed. And, if you need, take a break and go get information like social security numbers, right? I don't have all of our kids' socials memorized, and she doesn't either. But if I needed them, I'll get them from her, right? So go get the information. So that's section 5. Were support payments ordered by a court? That's letter B. Yes
Definitely
or no?
Need to
if
answer
yes,
that honestly.
Yeah. If yes, attach a copy of the court order.
Yeah.
So this is a pain because if you have a court order, you may not have a copy readily available. You got to go get it. Okay. I doubt that's happening most of the time. It's probably not. But when it is, you got to follow the rules and attach this. So you're going to have to jump through some hoops to get paid, which is why I say the surest way to get paid is to clock in.
Clock in.
Because this is tedious, right? But when you got to be out, this is how you do it. Section 6. Was or will there be a claim made against a third party? Yes or no? So a third party injury, we're not going to go into much, but typically it's a car wreck on the job. Most car wrecks on the job happen by letter carriers with USPS, but lots of others of you get into car wrecks on the job because you're driving company vehicles like federal law enforcement. As an example, if you're going from one location to another, like maybe you're at one VA hospital and you got to drive to an outpatient facility and you're required to, and you get in a wreck during that period of time, that would be a third party injury. And that's a CA1 claim. So will there be a claim made against a third party? Yes or no? And I think the reason they want to know that is because the third party is going to, you're going to be required to sue the third party.
Yeah. And that could also include slip and falls or dog bites.
Yeah, it can. Most often it's car wrecks, but she's 100% right. There are other situations. Heck, it could be because you got attacked.
Right. By a random dog.
No, by a human.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We've heard many stories. People have been held up at gunpoint.
And so these would be third party conditionally, assuming that there's an insurance to sue.
Yes.
But the reason they want that is because OWCP gets 80% of any settlement on a third party claim. And they want to know that they're going to get, that there is probably going to be some settlement coming to go against what they're paying out.
Right.
So that's just interesting. I forgot that was on there. So that's number 6 is it a third party? And then you just fill out the information there. Section 7. Now this is the one where you're saying, I told the truth. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I hereby make a claim for compensation because of the injury sustained by me while in the performance of my duty for the United States. I certify that the information provided is true and accurate and blah, 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 blah. You got to tell the truth on this form because it's worth money and they take it seriously. And then you sign and date it. And that's it. So that's your entire responsibility on a CA7. But when you go to the second page, which we're going to do. Yeah. So the second page, starting section 8, this is for your supervisor to fill out.
Yeah.
Now, because it's on eComp, they're, I guess, likely going to get an email saying you've got a document to fill out, and they have to fill out this sheet of paper. But what you need to do is go and check it. And so we're going to go through it because you're going to see that there's like 100 different ways for your supervisor to make it to where you don't get paid properly.
Right.
So we want to make sure you get paid properly. You wouldn't know, or you wouldn't believe how many, unless you're one of them, how many people come to us and say, I didn't get paid right. What do I do about it? And the first thing I say is go check your CA7 What did your supervisor say on the second page? And so this is going to be really important. So check this out. In section 8, it's saying date of injury, and you got to put the date. And it says, what is the base pay as of the date of injury? Okay, this is really important because your pay is going to be based on your date of injury pay rate. And then it says, list the additional pay. And there's 1, 2, 3. And then date employee stopped work. You put your date there and what your pay rate was and additional pay. Okay, so additional pay types include but are not limited to night differential. We get asked this all the time. Do I get night differential? Sunday premiums, holiday premiums, subsistence, quarter, etc. So they pay types include but are not limited to. So when you ask the question, well, do I get paid all of my extra stuff or is it only my scheduled shift? Well, the answer is you can get the additional pay as well. Make sure that's listed. Your supervisors are going to mess this up. As sure as I'm saying it, it's going to happen. They're going to mess it up. So you need to pay attention to this and correct it as soon as humanly possible when you see it. Number 9, does employee work a fixed 40-hour week schedule? Yes or no? If yes, just circle the days they work. If no, put the schedule. This is where, like, if it's yes, that's simple. Make sure the days are correct. But if no, you don't work a fixed 40-hour per week schedule, you need to make sure that the hours each day of the week are proper, are correct. All right, this one, as an example, says that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they work 8 hours, 4, 6, and 6. Well, what if you actually worked 8, 6, 8, 8, but they did it wrong? You're going to get paid wrong. So make sure your hours are correct. Very, very important. Did the employee work in the position for 11 months prior to the injury? Yes or no? And if no, would that position have afforded employment for 11 months but for the injury? So you want to make sure that if you've been there more than 11 months, it says yes. And if you know for sure that it's been less than 11 months, but there's no way that you would have worked less than 11 if you didn't get hurt, you need to make sure that that's correct as well below. So I'm going pretty fast on this. I know I'm going to get a bunch of questions, but this is all supervisor stuff. So remember, you're just checking this. It's easy to read this. It's in plain English. And if you know that you worked 11 months and they said no, you got to get that corrected.
Yeah.
It's very important.
You do.
Section 10, on the date pay stopped, was employee enrolled in, and this is where I hear, what about my other benefits? Make sure all your benefits are checked here, okay? Whatever your benefits are, make sure they're checked here, okay? Here, it's health benefits under the FEHBP, basic life insurance, optional life insurance, and a retirement system. So make sure that was checked properly. I can tell you from my experience that supervisors will mess this up all the time because it takes effort for them. They got to get your personnel file and see stuff. And lots of times they don't want to. So make sure this is, correct. Section 11, continuation of pay received. Yes or no?
Yeah, this one's important, guys.
If you receive COP, complete the time analysis sheet on CA7A. That means if you receive COP during that time that we said, the January 1st or 14th, did you get any COP during that period of time? You have to do the time analysis form, all right? Because we got to delineate between clocked in hours, LWOP hours, and COP hours at that point. And they just want to make sure they're not double paying you on the days you had COP. So make sure that's correct. Section 12, show pay status and inclusive dates for periods claimed. And the choices are sick leave, annual leave, LWOP, and work. If intermittent, complete Form CA7A again. If leave buyback, also submit completed Form CA7B. If it was intermittent, it's a 7A. So you want to make sure this is correct as well because, again, this is your pay and your supervisor's filling this out. So let's say that you went on the first page and said from January 1st to January 14th, I was out the entire time. I didn't even work a single hour. But your supervisor's coming here saying, well, no, you had sick leave for an hour, annual leave for 4, you had LWOP, and you worked for 2 days. Like, wait, dude, worked for 2 days. I was off the entire time. You have to make sure what Section 12 says matches what you said on the first page. 13, did employee return to work? Yes or no? If yes, what date? And if returned, did the employee return to the pre-date of injury job? Did you go to the same job you got hurt at? with the same number of hours and the same duties? Yes or no? If no, explain. So make sure you got that right. Section 14, remarks. I can't imagine what your supervisor could possibly say in remarks, but take a look just in case.
Pay attention to that.
Maybe your supervisor is going to say, I think this is all crap, and I don't think this person should get paid at all. I'd probably go to the union and talk about that one. And then 15, this is where the supervisor also certifies that everything that is said here is true to the best of their knowledge. So that's it. Then the last page is instructions. You see instructions for completing the form. These are really basic. I mean, it's super simple. You can go through and it's got like section number 2D, 3, 4, 5, 6A, 8. You see those? Go up a little bit. So all these right here. So all of these section numbers it's going to give you some instructions on, well, in case you need some clarification on what this is, it'll tell you. All right. So it makes it much more simple. If you read the instructions, almost nobody does. Your supervisor surely won't.
Yeah. And a lot of you that have been filling these out and they've been getting kicked back, I know this language on here sounds and looks foreign. That's why we're doing this. So you can understand line by line. He went through line by line. So you shouldn't have a problem. Plus, we told you the 4 pieces of paper you need to attach.
Yeah, so remember to attach your CA-17, CA-20, disability narrative, and any printouts of appointments you attended instead of work. And then make sure this is filled out perfectly by you on page 1 and that your supervisor didn't make mistakes on page 2. And if the supervisor made mistakes on page 2, correct them. Go to the supervisor and say, this is incorrect, fix it. If your supervisor refuses to fix things that you say are incorrect, then you need to write a letter to your claims examiner and eComp it and explain which sections are incorrect and exactly what portion of it, what about it is incorrect, because your pay depends on this. And people that are proactive in this have fewer problems getting paid than people that are lazy, don't read, or don't care. And I don't know anybody that doesn't care, but I'm telling you, if you don't get paid, you should have paid better attention, because I think you can fix a lot of these problems in advance. Now, one of the problems we can't fix is supervisors refusing to fill this out. However, there are rules, and something interesting I saw. Let me find where it's at. In the instructions, and you don't have to go screen share again, but write this down. Collection of this information is required to obtain a benefit and is authorized by 20 CFR 10.102, 20 CFR 10.103, and 20 CFR 10.404. So you can now always go to Google, and in Google, you can type in 20 CFR, which stands for Code of Federal Regulations, 10.102, 103, or 104, or 404, excuse me. And you can read the specific laws related to the CA7. And I assure you, there is nowhere in the law that says that a supervisor who doesn't feel like it doesn't have to fill this out. So it'd be really important, but that's in the instructions at the top of the instruction sheet. So just grab a CA7 and you can see it. It's right there at the top. I'm reading it. Okay, so that was a lot of information. I've never discussed a CA7 quite like this before. I'm anticipating a ton of questions, so let's get to it.
The only time he does it in detail like this is when we do state or national training, and you get this same detail, but a little slower because we have questions in between. So let's go back. We went to some of these questions. Casey Robinson, my case is mental is approved. I was told it a CA5, not a CA17. Is that correct?
It's an OWCP 5C to be exact. The CA17 is the best way for your doctor to either take you off of work, write restrictions, or send you back. But if you can't get a CA17 from your supervisor, then you can get an OWCP 5C. And all the forms that we talk about can be found at www.federalinjurycenters.com. We've got a forms tab, and you can find all these forms, including the CA7 and the OWCP 5C, the CA17, the CA20, all the forms.
All right. Sonia Summers with NAFI. How are you?
Hey.
As you can see, I told you to give me a call tomorrow. I need to talk to you, Sonia, if you're still on. Let's see. Tammy Newman. Hello, loves. Hope you're feeling better,
Hey,
Tammy. Emma, love you both. Well, we love you too, Emma.
Thank you, Emma.
Cindy Castro, can you get charged AL while your case is pending?
You can get charged annual leave if you use it. But you have to elect annual leave. Now, I know that there are supervisors who are just going to automatically use annual leave. And truthfully, every agency is going to have different policies. And I don't know if your agency's policy allows for that. So I would definitely check that and make sure they do allow it, because a supervisor may be allowed to just use your annual time if you don't have any other options because your claim's not approved. But I would check your policies for your agency.
So Eunice Mitchell responded to Cindy and said it's best to use LWAP.
Yeah, well, that's what we've been talking about today. The CA7, we were using letter A, leave without pay, LWAP. So I agree with that. But when you're out of work and you're using LWAP, look what it takes to get paid. I mean, I just went through this entire CA7 and we finished up in 30 minutes, and there's a lot here.
Yeah.
So again, the surest way to get paid is to clock in. That means be at work on the clock. But the claim for compensation is there for when you're hurt and you cannot get to work. You can't work and your claim's accepted.
Yeah.
And so the government gives you a way to get paid. So it's significant hoops to jump through, but yes, LWAP is what we're talking about.
And Casey said, yes, OWCP 5A is what the triage nurse stated.
At 5C, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's what he said. Okay. Jenna, I have an accepted claim. I haven't received payments from mid-November to late December. Told my claims examiner about it. She's looking into it, but I have gotten nowhere with it yet. All CA7s and other documents submitted properly. How long should it take to receive those payments? I waited to post this comment. I think I need to look at page 2 of those CA7s. Thank you for mentioning that page. So remember, and we said this at the beginning because there was a lot of you not on as yet. In order to get paid, number one, you have to have a accepted OWCP claim.
Yeah. And to my knowledge, there's no rule that states they have to pay you in any period of time. They have to respond and do anything in any period of time because there's so few of them and so many of you. But again, I have to stress that I saw a letter directly from a claim examiner to an injured person saying, turn these in every 2 weeks so we can pay you on time. So to me, that's a clue. And somebody said that the 5A was for a mental health condition. That's correct. Our company doesn't, Federal Injury Centers doesn't
we don't do mental health.
And so I'm just naturally stuck on the 5C. That's for musculoskeletal injuries. But yeah, the 5A is for you. That's exactly right.
Mamie Rogers. Okay. What needs to be attached to a CA2? You probably meant a CA7. So there's 4 pieces of paper you have to attach. You have to attach a CA17, a CA20, a printout of your appointments, and the doctor can do that. And I would have the doctor's office like stamp it or sign it or something, so nobody thinks that it's not legit that you're printing it. And then you need a disability narrative attached. So those 4 things. Now, that's not what they're saying that must be attached. This is something that we've told people for quite a while to attach, and since it's being attached, it's been getting accepted.
Well, the reason we teach that is because I found a training module that was for claims examiners, supervisors, etc., that said that stuff, those attachments. And before that, we were just like winging it, but that was a long time ago. But let me just answer the CA2 thing, just in case you really did mean CA2. There's nothing to attach to a CA2. That's a form you fill out when you have an injury that developed over a period of time. You do it on eComp as well. But you do have to have medical documentation. Otherwise, your CA2 will never be accepted. So you do have to have medical documentation. So just in case you did mean CA2, what you attach to it is medical documentation.
Yeah.
Now, a CA20 is medical documentation, a CA17, an OWCP 5C, and a disability narrative or just a medical narrative. Those are all forms of medical documentation.
There's a lot of you asking if we have locations in certain cities. All you got to do is just go to federalinjurycenters.com and click the locations tab. They're all listed.
The locations tab at the top of the page, that's impossible to miss. It's a red box. Anybody that wants to know that, you can go there and check that out.
Yeah, and you don't have to, if there's another bordering state that it's closer for you to get to, you can definitely go there as well.
And since you brought it up, you don't have to go to a Federal Injury Centers doctor to get help from me at Wednesday night OWCP chats.
Correct.
We're happy to help regardless of who your doctor is. Even if I can't stand your doctor, I'll still help you.
Sonia, you gave me your number. I have called you. You'd better answer tomorrow then. I need to talk to you. Angela Roberts.
And everyone else, don't blow up Sonia.
Yeah, don't. This is not for her personal. This is for my use. Angela Roberts. Are we entitled to receive COLA pay while receiving pay from DOL?
Remind me what COLA is?
Cost of living assistance.
Thank you for saying that. Cost of living assistance while receiving pay. You're allowed to receive any financial assistance that does not lead to a double payment between OWCP and the other pay. That's why they ask you. And on the CA7, it says in section 3, report any and all other earnings. You'd have to report it there. It doesn't mean it's going to offset your LWOP, but you have to say, I'm having it. So regardless whether you want to do it or not, it requires you to take any, and it says any in bold, any outside income. So be sure you list it.
Faith, can I get fired for an occupational disease if I can't work at 100%?
You can be reassigned. They can send you to like an occupational retraining. It depends on your craft. Like inside the post office, for example.
She says she's USPS carrier.
Yeah. So inside the post office, city carriers, clerks, and mail handlers all have 1 year. And that means if you're out of work completely for one straight year, 12 solid months, 365 days, they can reassign you. And this just happened, actually. We are helping somebody who's essentially losing their position. If you're a rural carrier, it's 2 years. For agencies that are governed outside of USPS, like AFGE agencies, check, but most of you are probably 1 year too, but check your agency because depending on your agency, it could be different.
Victor.
Let me say one more thing, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Victor said, but this is really important because you know how I started this off by saying the surest way to get paid is to clock in? Well, I think I'm going to start saying this too. The surest way to not be reassigned, to not be removed, to not have that hassle is to get back to work as soon as possible. Because if you're off work completely for 1 year to 2 years, depending on your craft, you're almost at the mercy of supervisors. And you better hope, and I hate hope because it's not a strategy, hope that you've got a nice supervisor because the ones that don't care are going to be glad to let you go. And I hate that. I'm not the company doctor. None of our doctors are the company doctor. Nobody would ever confuse me with someone who's a friend of the supervisors, ever. I am the most brutal person verbally to all supervisors in the history of supervisors. I'm just bad with these people because I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I come from management background. I have a management degree. And I see what they do, and I'm not in favor of them. And all the books I wrote, I write chapters just for them in the event that they can read English and want to know something, I tell them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to great lengths to tell you, we're not the company doctor. I'm not there to, appease management. I am responding to your greatest needs. And one of your greatest needs in this case is I need to get paid and I need to not get fired.
Right.
Okay. And so I'm saying get back to work as soon as medically possible so you don't run into this problem. That was a long explanation, but it's something that I hate to see because there's just some things I can't fix.
Oh, it's funny. Yesterday, on a side note, I had to go to the post office. I was number 11 in line. At our little post office, there's just 2 clerks there. And somebody was really upset. So the guy calls the supervisor. I was telling Chris about this. And I almost took her picture. I told Chris I should have taken her picture and made her famous, but that would be illegal. And I'd probably get sued.
I don't
for
think
that.
you can take pictures inside the
right.
agency. Yeah.
So I just didn't bother. She was the nastiest lady. She's like 4 feet tall. And I was sitting there. I'm like, oh my gosh, if she is this nasty to customers, what is she saying to employees? Like that was, I don't give a crap about the customers. I can just imagine how she is with her personality like that, how she would be with the people that she works with.
4 feet tall, huh?
4 feet tall.
That's fun sized.
We got Victor Jose Sanchez.
Victor, my boy.
Said, can't wait to see you guys in Fort Myers. My question for you is, how many hours you guys need to give a CA7 training? Well, normally when we train for APW, it's 3 hours long, and that's included. But just for a CA7,
an hour.
Like in 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the questions.
I'll need an hour because there's going to be a ton of questions.
Yeah.
And if I do a full CA7 training, I'm going to go box by box, not section by section.
Yeah. Angela said, do we receive anything from DOL to file with our income taxes?
Yeah, I mean, they're required. Anyone, any individual, entity, agency, business, whatever, that provides income to you is required to give you a document for taxes. So if you haven't received it, go talk to your HR.
Amy J. If off for 3 months so far with an approved claim and getting payments every 2 weeks after a pay
Well, can you
a
start that over?
if off for 3 months so far with an approved claim and getting payments every 2 weeks after a period of time they pay monthly. So do I submit my CA7s every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks? Great
Okay.
question.
So after a period of time, they pay monthly. If they have not notified you that you no longer have to submit CA7s, because you can be on what's called the rolls and they'll just automatically pay you. If you haven't been notified that that is the case, then and they only want to pay you monthly, I would still turn them in every 2 weeks. I just would.
Just so you're not backed up either.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
If you wait, like it's just
All the paperwork.
it's potentially more paperwork each time if you wait a month. So I would just do them every 2 weeks. It's a good idea. Look, I've never actually taught this before since CA7's only recently went on to eComp recently, like in the last couple of years. Prior to that, I would always say, just get a stack of CA7s and start filling them out. Just start filling them out. Even if your claim's not accepted yet, start filling them out so that you're not having to do it all at once, because it becomes this mountain of paperwork and too many people just throw their hands up and say, forget it. But now it's on eComp, which means you have to fill it out electronically. And I still say you should get a stack of CA7s and fill them out so that when you go online to fill them out, you've got the information ready to go. So it's simple. Mm-hmm. Make it as easy as possible for you. Like there's going to be a time where you're not at work, you're sitting at home, you're watching TV, you got your popcorn, and you just grab your CA7s and start filling them out because you got plenty of time.
Yeah.
So anytime you got popcorn, beer, or bourbon, that probably should trigger that should probably trigger a CA7 time to fill out.
My T-shirt, my Union Solidarity T-shirt. This was from NVP Tish from AFGE. We were rallying with them at the VA when she used to be a local president.
Way before she was
and on the
big
back,
bad MVP.
On the back, it says red for feds. So we would just wear red every Wednesday. Our shirts that we get that was given to us. And I just thought, you know what? We're talking about, we're helping you guys. You guys are part of a union. So union solidarity.
That's right.
Deborah Hurd, I truly appreciate and love your organization. And I just can't believe how the Postal Service continues with their illegal, unjustified actions. I truly appreciate you guys. I pray you have a simply blessed, awesome rest of the year. Well, thank you.
Thanks
that
very
was
much.
so sweet. Let's see. Amy J. If and when I go back to USPS as a rural carrier on restrictions and not doing my route, but other stuff, do I get paid my regular pay or the post office or OWCP?
Okay. So the way I would have asked this question for me to understand it, and I hope this is what you meant, is am I going to keep getting paid when I get back to work my pre-injury pay rate or the new pay rate?
Because she's doing a different job.
Right. So I think you need to talk to your agency and specifically your union rep about this.
Go to your union.
But if you're going to go do a different job that has a different pay rate, I don't know why you would have the old pay rate if you're back to work. But there's something that tells me that there's probably a loophole in there that's going to give you the old pay rate until you're back to work for a certain amount of time, full time. So depending on your craft and your agency, you want to go check that out with your union and make sure what your status is there, because it's not going to be the same across the board. I wish I could just give that answer across the board, but it's just not the same. It depends on the contract with the agency.
Tammy Cade, if you've been made to work your day off weekly for the past year, is this included in your pay rate on the CA7? It's like $19,000 more than my base rate.
All right, so I'm going to direct you to section.
When he says he's directing you, he's talking about the CA7. So pay attention and write this down, Tammy.
All right, check out section 9 on the supervisors portion. That's page 2. It's asking, did you work a fixed 40-hour week? If not, what did you work? You want to make sure that section is filled out properly, because it'll say like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the hours you worked on those days. So if you're working on your day off, that would give you an opportunity to identify that there, but your supervisor has to do it. So you want to make sure that's done properly. So again, that was section 9. And then for you on page 1, nope, that's it. So make sure section 9 is filled out properly.
Tammy, that was for you.
That was for you, Tammy.
Jacqueline Murray, hello. Is there a time frame once your case is reopened to doing reconsideration?
So I saw that question just a minute ago, and I'm not really sure what you mean. So when your case is reopened, is there a time frame to do reconsideration? So reconsiderations they give you 12 months from each date of denial. So let's say your claim for compensation was denied on this date, and then your claim was reopened on some other date. The 12 months starts from the date of denial. It has nothing to do with anything else. So the only answer based on that question, which I'm a little confused by the question, but what I would say is all reconsiderations must be done within 12 months of the date of denial, regardless of anything else. That's the rule on reconsiderations.
And there's a story to go with that. And we tell you, make sure you're filing your paperwork on the time when Chris will tell you the story about that lady that messaged me.
Oh, you want to talk about it right
Just
now?
real quick about
No, I like this
timely filing on denials.
So I think we saved someone's life, potentially. But Gini and I were watching TV at like 11:45 p.m. one night, and we tend to watch TV late. And she always has her phone. Like, see how she's holding her phone right now? There's not a time. Like, I think it's actually attached to her hand because it's always there. And
but I'm not answering questions.
But she's got, so just a little side note. She's got this really cool feature. Like Gini has this cool feature where her all her other six senses, or the other five senses, they automatically shut down when she's looking at her screen. So if she's looking at her screen, like she cannot smell anything, she can't hear anything, she can't taste anything, she can't feel anything. All she can do is see what's on the screen. So everything shuts down. And that was a huge benefit to this lady this night because Gini was holding the phone. All of her other senses were shut down. And this lady sent her a Facebook message that said, I think I'm up against it. What do I do? On the 12-month period for reconsideration.
So I asked her.
No, hold on. My way of telling the story is a little better.
Okay.
Because so what she had to do in order to be able to communicate with me, because she couldn't talk either, is she had to turn her phone upside down. So once the phone was upside down, all the other senses, she's like, is something burning in the stove? What's that sound I hear? And then she turned to me and she started talking, because then her verbal abilities came back because she was no longer looking at her screen. And so she said to me, do you have an appeal request form? This is what's attached to all denials, an appeal request form. And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I do. Keep your phone upside down so we can talk about this. So I found it on my phone and I emailed it to her. And once I emailed it to her, I said, okay, it's on your email. You can go back to your phone. And so she did. I was invisible again, but she found that form, sent it to the lady by Facebook Messenger. That lady got it uploaded by eComp with like 3 minutes to spare.
She got it in. Yes, literally. When she messaged me back, she's like, thank goodness I had 3 minutes before. And when we say it's done, it's done. You cannot fix a denial that's not been submitted at the right time.
So all reconsiderations must be submitted within 12 months of the denial, not 12 months and 1 minute. And this lady was 1 minute away, potentially, right? So the couple of things you learn from there is that she's always got her phone in her hand, so don't let her fool you. And she doesn't hear, see, smell, taste, nothing if she's looking at her screen. And I'm on mute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm focused. Victor, yes, you are allowed to take pictures and videos inside the post office lobby. We'll all be a monkey's uncle. I should have got a selfie with her. Be like, ma'am, you are so little. Let me take a selfie.
I like your style. Come down here. I mean, up here, and let's take a picture together.
Oh my gosh, that's cool. Okay. Britt Hole. Hole. My CA7 was approved from May till November. They sent me to a second opinion doctor who did a C5 restriction. They gave me a job offer that wasn't within the restrictions, yet OWCP said it's suitable. So I got a new claims examiner, and he's denied my pay. The second opinion doctor restrictions were 3 months till January 29th. My doctor wrote me completely off in January 25th based on my new MRI because I re-injured my back when I went to work for 2 hours in June of 2024. Submitted a CA7 and not getting paid. What can I do next?
Well, okay. So first of all, when you get a limited duty offer and the claims examiner says, I think this is a suitable job offer, The claim examiner gives you 30 days to review that with your doctor. That's by rule. That's by Code of Federal Regulations. That's a law. They give you 30 days to review it with your doctor. And if your doctor disagrees with the claims examiner's assessment that this is a valid offer, they'll give you another 2 weeks after that to sort of explain like why.
Yeah.
So what you need to do, what you needed to have done, and if you still can, go for it. Get your doctor to write a narrative report explaining why the limited duty offer doesn't match the limitations, and then have the claims examiner reevaluate it. The claims examiner is going to be fair. Okay, they're federal employees too, and they want their stuff to be right if it ever becomes them in that situation. So you just have your medical doctor explain why the limitations didn't work, and then go from there. They'll be reasonable. The claims examiner will be reasonable.
Yeah.
There was another part of that.
Oh, here, I want to scan it. I think you answered it. That's silent.
Talk amongst yourself. My doctor wrote me to play off January 25. And you're still not getting paid. Okay, so you submitted your CA7. That was the second part. Still not getting paid. Okay, so you're probably not going to get paid until you, your doctor, and your claim examiner are on the same page with regard to the limited duty assignment. If your claims examiner, even the new claims examiner, maintains that we think the doctor's wrong no matter what, then the time that you are off, unfortunately, you're not going to get paid LWOP. That's not fair, but you heard what I said earlier about fair.
Sorry, guys.
Usually not.
Yeah.
But you did have 30 days to show it to the doctor and potentially another 2 weeks to get on the same page with the claim examiner.
Yes. Kevin Andrews did someone say bourbon?
Yes, they did, Kevin.
Victor, I can get APW Union t-shirts for you guys. Great. We'll be wearing them.
Make it happen.
Jenny Boyd, my OWCP claim was open and closed in the same day. However, I'm waiting for DOL to approve my referral request for an MRI. It's taking forever. Is that the holdup? That the MRI will exceed the 1,500 allowance? Is there something I need to do? That sounds strange. In one day, it opened and closed?
Yeah, I'd want to call and leave a voicemail with the claims examiner. It will be transcribed and they'll be required to respond to it. But I want to ask, why did this happen? Because right now you're sort of at an impasse, not even understanding what the hell is going on. I don't know why they would open and close it in the same day.
We've heard this before.
But an MRI you should be able to get regardless. I mean, I don't like this, and I'm never probably going to say it again, but you could always use your health insurance to get an MRI.
But if you're seeing a DOL doctor that's actually trained, he should be able to send you out. And our patients in all the offices, they don't have to, worry about getting this authorized. It's get handled.
Yeah. So what we'll do, let's just take our doctors here in the Tampa Bay area. What we'll do is they have relationships with imaging centers, and the imaging center has agreed to take the risk and say, hey, yeah, we'll do the imaging as soon as the claim gets accepted. We'll send our bills in then we'll get paid. They don't even ask you for money. And that's common around federal injury centers. But when you're outside of us, it's not common, unfortunately, but that's why you have health insurance, which I hate. I don't want you to have to use your health insurance because that's not free to you. But
and it's a hassle to fight for OWCP and your insurance to get involved. It sucks.
Yeah, but another thing I always say is that you're at a red light. What are you going to do? It never turns green. What are you going to do? You can't sit there forever. You're going to have to go to the bathroom.
Run it.
Run the red light. And in this case, you run the red light, but get in the MRI anyways.
Yeah.
You're not going to be in trouble because you got an MRI. But if you wait on the system to help you get an MRI, you may be waiting a while.
Yeah. Jenny Boyd, I have 3 of your books. I saw you hold up more than 3.
There's 4.
Do you have a newer one? Okay. I know everyone's going to ask now since I held them up. You can hold them up. Chris is going to do, and we said this last week, one more book called Breaking OWCP, The Final Chapter. We don't know when it'll be released, but we will let you know for sure. And all 4 of these books will be in that new Volume 5 book, plus more content.
It's about 80% finished now.
Yeah.
The girl that I'm working with, Jennifer, that is helping me basically produce the new book.
Yep.
Just today was beating me up about it because I haven't gotten her like a book cover and stuff. So
I don't blame her.
I have people even outside of you that are just whipping me around, slapping me, backslapping, all of it, saying, let's go. I was going to say I'm not being lazy. I have been. I was on vacation and stuff.
We've been on vacation and then having the flu.
But no excuses. I do have these 4. There's a 5th book coming. The 5th book will literally include all of the contents of all of these. So you don't have to get 4 or 5 books, plus a little bit of new stuff.
Yeah. Let me get through these questions so we're able to answer all of them. Deborah Hurd, the claims assistance of the Postal Service in Alexandria calls you and tells you once the Labor Department contacts you to notify you that they're going to pay monthly, and she tells you not to turn in CA7s anymore.
Okay, so that's called being on the rolls. And that's what I was discussing earlier. When they notify you, you don't have to turn them in anymore. You don't. And that's that. But if you don't get notified that you don't have to turn them in anymore, do it every 2 weeks.
Capri Jackson, you guys are amazing. Just pulled out my CA7 and my Saturday hours are incorrect and no information input about COP. I'll be contacting my supervisor tomorrow to fix it. And if anybody needs to relook at their CA7s and go to this video, fix it before they say that they're not going to fix it for you. Don't wait long.
Your CA7s are inside your eComp case file. So you can go to your case file and get all the CA7s and see everything your supervisor said.
Sonia, she said, I need 30 to 45-minute presentation at our June event. We can talk, Gini. Tomorrow I'm calling you, Sonia.
Wait, you want us to come just for 30 to 45 minutes?
I guess.
I mean, my standard deal is 3 hours. I can do the whole thing.
So let me just throw that in there because a lot of you here's what happens. Not only do we have union events, state and national conventions, we have things that we do outside for personal coaching and whatnot. And Chris's schedule for our coaching stuff get booked from December of the year for next year. So we have to put that in consideration. Plus, at the beginning of the year, and everybody knows this, I put out probably like January 1st. By the 10th of January, it's out there. If you want to schedule us for state or national conventions, it is a 3 to 4 hour convention that Chris teaches. That includes Q&A. We come, we get a booth, we set up, we bring books and a bunch of fun stuff. But once we get locked in, it's first come, first serve. And so if we're booked, we are sorry. We just had to deny APW in Salt Lake, and that really crushed me.
And me too. It's my favorite place in the world to go.
So, Sonia, I'll be talking to you tomorrow. Britt, my doctor went out on surgery. I tried to go elsewhere, but they won't approve change of physician.
Wait, your doctor is physically not available to help you and they won't let you change doctors? Anybody ever seen Anchorman?
I mean, that's what we wear for Halloween.
That doesn't make sense. I don't know what you wrote in your request to change treating doctor letter, but you should emphasize in there in bold letters, my doctor is no longer available to help me. I mean, they have to let you get a new doctor.
Sonia Summers, on a $24.99, you have that second page to explain concerns that the agency is not within your restrictions. Write everything. This is how this will help your grievances and EEOC cases.
So $24.99 is USPS for those of you that are not. You're like, what's $24.99? That's USPS.
Angela Roberts, correction. I'm a USPS and meant step and COLA increases from USPS while I'm currently out. Currently, OWCP has not included those pay increase. It is indicated on my CA7. However, I'm being paid my old salary.
Yeah, you're going to have to talk to your claims examiner and just you two get on the same page on that one. You could also go to your union to get help, but I think you may have an issue that your claims examiner can just easily fix.
Yeah, Eunice said, just use your insurance and submit reimbursement for it. You can always take care of it yourself first.
That's something about MRIs. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, you can. It's a hassle, but if there's no other way, you're going to have to do that.
Yeah, and we don't want you to have to do that. I don't want you to pay $1 out of your pocket, but I also don't want you stuck at a red light.
Going to go check one more place to see if we had any questions.
While you're doing that, Courtney says, if my doctors say I've reached MMI, do I contact DOL to see their doctor? No. You can see your own doctor or any doctor you want to who knows how to do impairment ratings. Because once you do an MMI, you get an impairment rating for a schedule award, assuming you have an injury that is rateable, a body part that's rateable. My cancer doctor doesn't fill duty sheets out. Yeah, you'll have to find somebody who does.
All right, let's see. This here.
So what she's doing now, she's going to some other platforms we're on because we're on so many places to make sure we didn't miss any questions because not all the questions will show up on our screen in front of us.
Oh, there's a bunch. Okay. It's Sonia. Do you guys have a doctor in certain areas? Again, for locations, please go to federalinjurycenters.com, click locations. Tara said, I haven't accepted CA2. I'm waiting on them to fix my limited work assignment, so I'm out of work until then. I'm submitting my first CA7 this Friday, but only been out of work for 3 days waiting. So can I just use the original narrative my doctor gave me for the first time that was uploaded to eComp?
Only if that original narrative explains medically why you were taken out of work. If it does not do that, you need a different one to explain medically why you're out of work. Even if it's just for 3 days, it's going to be really important.
Sonia goes, you are not a postal employee. You should have took her picture and reported her. You are a customer and you have complaints. I know, but I wasn't going to cause any problems. And one more place I wanted to check, and then we will be done with questions.
Okay, you all did such a great job tonight. Those are fantastic questions. I hope I didn't go too fast on the CA7 because I believe this is the most complicated form OWCP has for you. You can always go back and watch this again. Also, my business partner, Tom, recorded a video on this years ago where he goes line by line on it as well. And you can find that in a videos tab at federalinjurycenters.com as well.
Okay, so that's all. So with that said, guys, today we went over how to fill out a CA7. We screen shared the CA7. So show your friends, tell your friends that's on there, go through line by line with Chris and get that taken care of so it gets submitted the correct way. And don't forget the 4 sheets of paper to attach to it. After the live, I will go in and make a post about the 4 pieces of paper that go along with the CA7.
Victor said, I hope you guys feel better. We do. Thank you so much, Victor. Are you guys bringing any Federal Injury Centers of Melbourne, Florida doctors to our APW seminar in Fort Myers? We're not. We're not bringing any doctors. We're going to bring ourselves and probably some books, right? I think I've got some books left, or I have to print some more, but I like to bring these books, especially this particular one, as Victor knows, but everyone else may not, when I go and teach, because I like you to have this as a handout, because when you leave me, you should be an expert in OWCP.
All right, last question. Penny Story. Someone last week said they received a letter from OWCP about having a doctor within 75 miles. I received one as well today. I've been going to FIC in Chicago, which is 6 hours because no one is in my area. I even wrote the claims examiner and explained the issue I had with the local doctors, and they initially approved me to see the Chicago doctor. Now they are saying I need to be within a 75 miles. I missed your answer last week. Will I need to change the doctor?
I can tell you this: they're not going to pay you your transportation cost. But I've never seen a rule that says 75 miles, and
I thought it was 100 miles.
Well, they can be paid up to 100 miles round trip. That's
round
the
trip,
OWCP
right.
957. I've never seen anything about a 75 mile anything. Look, there could be a new FICA bulletin out. I'll check them because they come out randomly and they don't give you notifications. I don't get like an email saying, hey, there's a new bulletin. Check it out. You just have to go look. So I'll do that. But I can tell you that everything I know says you can go to any doctor you want. And that doesn't mean they have to pay your transportation costs, but you can go to any doctor you want. Now, for me, I'd want to go someplace closer. And I'm saying that knowing that means you might leave one of my docs.
Yeah.
But you get to make that decision. With that said, I'm going to look it up and see if there's a new rule on 75 miles. But if there's a rule, it's literally brand new.
All right. This is so sweet. And we're going to end with this. Capri Jackson. Thank you guys. We appreciate all that you do. You saved my case literally by me watching these videos. And this is why we tell you to tell your friends, share it, tag them, come here because of things like this. So with that said, we're going to hop off and we will see you guys next Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget to tell your friends. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
And at the Breaking OWCP podcast.
We'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Bye, everybody.